In a previous video, I talked about Disco Elysium, an extraordinary game that got me through the loneliness of quarantine. But it wasn't the only one. Night in the Woods is stellar. At first glance, the 2D animation and the talking cartoon animals makes it look like a simple game, but it offers so much more than one would think. It follows the story of May, a college dropout who returns to her old decaying home of Possum Springs. Most of the game is about May learning what's transpired since she left, rekindling old friendships, and finding ways to deal with the psychological struggles that caused her to suffer greatly in college. The strengths of the game don't lie in its gameplay or level design, but rather in how it writes its characters. Kinda like Telltale, except it doesn't pretend to have meaningful choices. I felt the personal sorrows each character was going through. May, who's trying to grasp with her undiagnosed mental disorder, which makes everything feel unreal and meaningless. Greg, who's in doubt of himself and thinks he'll screw everything up with Angus. And Bea, who feels like she's gonna be stuck forever inside of a town she's lived in since she was born. Yes, all of them are anthropomorphic animals, but the way they're presented like real people with their own problems made me care for every single one of them. Change, adulthood, mental health, self-doubt, poverty. These are all things everyone has or will experience in their lifetime. Night in the Woods uses these themes to give you a sense of melancholy that feels uncomfortably real. It's a game that pulls on your heartstrings, and because of that, it struck a chord with a lot of people. I love Night in the Woods. I get this warm feeling cooking inside of me every time I open it. It's not perfect by any means, but I still consider it a wonderful game. Night in the Woods' cute and anxious world was one sweet and memorable experience to say the least, and it has, without a shadow of a doubt, become one of my personal favorites. There is a wide range of topics you can cover in this game, but there's one in particular that captures my interest. You start out the game in this bus station. When you try to exit, you see this janitor standing in front of a doorway. Apparently, he broke the door and is now trying to fix it. In order to pass him, you have to give the janitor a soda from the vending machine. Afterwards, you leave and continue your journey home. This is the first appearance of a character known only as the Janitor. Before I continue any further, I think it goes without saying there's spoilers ahead. And unlike my Disco Elysium video, I won't be treading lightly on the game's plot. I'm gonna be assuming you already know what happens in the story. Possum Springs is filled with a lot of minor characters that give its world color and life, like Bruce, Pastor K, Lori, Germ, but the Janitor is different from the rest of them. We know very little about him. I looked back and found that he has a total of only 4 appearances in the entire game, but it's with these 4 appearances that has left players wondering who or what he actually is. His first appearance at the bus station has nothing strange so far, save for the fact that he's the first ever character you meet, and he's the only person around this whole area. You don't meet him again until much later, in Halloween, at the night of the Harfest. Bea asks May if she could fill in someone's spot in a play for the Harfest. May accepts, and during the play, one of the performers off-screen says, "And once haunted, can a place be unhaunted?" Coming into frame, the person who said this is revealed to be the Janitor. May recognizes him. "Young witch, it is I, the god of the forest," he says. She is caught off guard and the Janitor tells her, "Ain't that the way? Witch, thou hast tarried too long in this world. I banish thee to wander in the night, through the stranger places." May is still confused and the Janitor tells her, "Young witch, let me speak wisdom to you. We begin and we end, at night, in the woods." But that is not the whole of the story. You can make May ask the Janitor how he knows so much about her, and the Janitor responds, "Young witch, I know more than thee could ever know, for I am as old as these trees. Beware as you go, for there are ghosts." And with that, he walks away. His lines have an interesting subtext to them. He name drops the title of the game, he mentions in the play that he's a god of the forest, he also questions whether a haunted place can be unhaunted. Unhaunting a haunted place is a recurring motif in Night in the Woods. When May's grandfather died, his last words were, "This house is haunted." Germ's wise old grandmother also asks May, "Can you unhaunt a haunted house?" I think this is referring to the desire of wanting to restore things to a better state in the past, a sentiment that a lot of people from Possum Springs sympathize with. His third appearance would come while May is in the hospital. He mysteriously assures Pastor K and May's parents that she's gonna be fine. In his fourth and final appearance, he talks to May and finally has a genuine conversation with her. He asks her what it's been like coming back home, and she opens up about the strange things that's been happening to her these past few days. Like in the play, he brings up how he feels as old as the trees and gives May some bit of wisdom. He says that whatever big things you experience don't teach you anything, but they do make you something. You just have to wait and see what comes of it. May says to the janitor that she'll see him around, and the janitor replies, "Not if I see you first, May," and walks off to rest after an honest day's work, with May wondering how the janitor knew her name without ever introducing herself. Due to the ominous nature of the janitor's appearances, many speculate that he's no ordinary sanitation worker. From what I've read, the general consensus within the game's community is that he's secretly an omnipotent being. Some say he's God, which could explain his inexplicable and miraculous appearances. Others say he's actually the forest god of Night in the Woods' inner mythology. He even plays the role of the forest god in the Harfest play. But here's what I think. I genuinely believe the janitor is simply that, a janitor. It's unlikely that any of the supernatural events that occur in the story are true. The dreams and visions May sees could be a manifestation of her spiraling psyche, or they could even be caused by the gas leaks that were alluded to in the newspapers. The janitor's appearances could simply be dismissed as coincidences, and I don't really find it strange that he knows May's name considering that May is pretty well known in the whole town. The character of Angus said something in the game that I really resonate with. We're good at drawing lines through the spaces between stars. Like we're pattern finders and we'll find patterns. And we really put our hearts and minds into it, and even if we don't mean to. So I believe in a universe that doesn't care, and people who do. You know what the best parts of the game were? It wasn't in the mystery or supernatural elements, but rather in the little things. The everyday interactions with the people of Possum Springs made the game for me. Like talking to Selmers about her poems, learning about constellations with Mr. Chasakov, or understanding your friend's personal conflicts. The supernatural explanation is just another way to distract oneself from his banal, mundane, and horrid reality. Failing businesses, friendships growing distant, uncertainty, change. That's what the residents of Possum Springs truly go through. May herself went through a lot in the story. Her lonely and crushing college life forced her to go back home to find some bit of solace. But even then, the problems don't end there. She had to confront all the change happening to her old life, her parents, her friends, while at the same time facing the socio-economic issues that plague the town. Instead of facing this ugly truth, she focuses most of her time towards the things she enjoys in life. I deeply appreciate how this game challenged me to really dig deep and understand May, and look through what she describes as her nightmare eyes. Change really is scary. Growing into an adult is scary. We all have to process this our own way, but no matter how we feel, we should remind ourselves that it's okay to feel this way. When the whole world feels like it's all crashing down on you, when everything feels hopeless and the universe is only indifferent, when you're confronted by despair at the end of everything, hold on to anything.